Shabbat Shalom, Shalom Aleichem, Assalamu Alaikum. Welcome to 2 Kings chapter 18, in which there are 37 verses. Beginning in verse 4, I write here, finally, somebody removes the high places, and it's King Hezekiah. King Hezekiah stands out among all the kings of Israel. Verse 7, it says that he was wise. King Hezekiah was wise in all that he undertook. Verses, he prospered whithersoever he went forth. So one is saying, the Septuagint is saying he was wise in all his decisions. The Masoretic is saying he prospered wherever he would go. Verse 11 mentions the Samaritans versus Israel. And then mountains versus cities. Verse 12, hearkened versus obeyed. And it's important to understand that Shema Yisrael, Shema means listen and obey. It's not merely to obey, it's both. Verse 16, there's an omission of with gold. So the pillars were overlaid with gold. They were not overlaid with anything else but gold. Verse 17 talks about a strong force versus a great host. So not just a large group of people, this was a strong force, an army. Verse 18, they cried to Hezekiah, so they cried for help. Verse, they called to the king. So there's a clear sense of urgency in the Masoretic. We see here the name Joash, the son of Shaphat, versus Joah, the son of Asaph, who most people will connect to the Psalms. Verse 20, and this takes place way after the Psalms, I have to add. Verse 20, mere words versus vain words. Verse 21, a broken staff of reed versus the staff of this bruised reed. So it is a staff made of reed that has been broken versus a staff that has been made of bruised up reed. Verse 22, whereas thou hast said to me, versus if will you say to me. So one is saying they have said this, one is saying if you do this, so they haven't done it yet. And it's important to note that Rabshakeh has been misinformed regarding the correct worship of the Elohim of Israel, because he has this false impression that in order to worship the God of Israel correctly, you need to do so at the high places and the altars. But now he's saying you're going to worship your God only at this one altar located in Jerusalem. Verse 23, make an agreement versus give pledges, which also means to make an exchange. Verse 24, petty governor, which means a local ruler, versus one captain. Verse 25, Rabshakeh actually invokes the name of Hashem. He says the name. This is Yod-He Vav-He, or Yod-He Waw-He. Twice he says that, and he even says, this is what he told me to say. So we'll see if his words are proven correct. And then it says here Jewish language versus Jews' language. I believe that is in verse 26. Okay, I got that verse wrong. Verse 26, he says that. There's an omission of why dost thou speak? Why are you doing this? Why are you speaking in the ears of the people that are on the wall? So it's not bad enough that Rabshakeh is speaking in the Jewish language, which most likely is Hebrew or Aramaic. I think it is Hebrew, though, in this historical context. But why are you also speaking these specific words in the ears of the people? Verse 27, it says water versus this word. I'm not going to say that. It might be taken as a profanity, but it's important to realize that water is being used as a euphemism for urine. And we can see the word is mayim. It is mayim. Okay, I don't know why it says regel or regel. Let's see. What does that mean? Before we just brush that off, foot or leg. Okay, I'm not sure why they would say that. So that is verse 27. Verse 29, significant difference here. It says, let not Hezekiah encourage you with his words, or with words, versus let not Hezekiah deceive you. So one is an encouragement. He's giving them courage, comforting them, giving them good words. But in the Masoretic, Rabshakeh is accusing Hezekiah of deceiving them, of lying to them. So those are two very different things. Verse 31, gain my favor versus make an agreement. Okay, that's 31. There it is. Gain my favor. Make an agreement with me by a present. So by a benediction, prosperity, perhaps a bribe. The footnote reads, make a blessing with me. There's an omission of the word shall 3 times. So it says here, every man shall drink of his own vine, every man shall eat of his own fig tree, and shall drink water out of his own cistern. It's important to realize 2 things. The first thing is the king of the Assyrians is guaranteeing you are going to do these things. You shall do this, you shall do that, you shall do this. Second thing to realize is that Hebrew, there is no conjugation, so we don't know whether this is past, present, or future. That's up to the translators to translate, to determine. Verse 32, for he deceived you. So outright, he comes out with the words and says outright, Hezekiah, he deceives you, versus when he persuades you. So he's making an argument and persuading them to think this way, to think in such a way. So it says allure, entice, instigate, not so much deceive. So it is quite blunt. He's deceiving you, he's tricking you, he's lying to you. That's what Rabshakeh is claiming, accusing Hezekiah of doing that. And then it says here, this is what King Hezekiah says to you. The Lord, or Hashem, shall deliver you. He's going to save you, the people, versus deliver us. So he's including himself among them in the Masoretic. Verse 34, the last verse we will look at. So these are the gods, the Elohim of the Babylonians. That's important to recognize, to remember, because these are the places where they came from. Hamath, Arphad, Sepharvaim, Anna, and Abba. Okay, so that's all for this chapter. Thank you very much for your time. Until next time, I bid you all Shalom Aleichem, Assalamu Alaikum, Irini Mazisu, Pax Vobiscum. Peace be unto you, and Maranatha.